Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Gavin Courtney.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
Yep, it's a little bit of a wet morning.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't expect those showers this morning, but of course we'll be getting the details on that in just a few. Finding out if we're going to have a rainy day or if it's just to wash off yesterday's dust.
Yeah.
Oh, and they are on the line. We have Crystal Rosales on the line. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
How are you today?
I'm great, thank you.
All right, so Crystal, I'm saying the shower this morning feels a bit unexpected. I thought we were done with the rain.
Well, we do have some early morning showers, yes, but for the rest of the day, we do expect generally fair conditions.
Okay, all right, that's good news. So what's our 24-hour forecast?
Sunny with some cloudy spells today and cloudy at times tonight. Showers will be generally isolated with slightly more over the northern and central areas this morning and over the south tonight.
Okay, and our winds?
The winds will be from the east and northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and the sea conditions will be slight.
All right, so let's talk about those high temperatures. How warm is it going to be?
Today will reach 87 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 90 degrees Fahrenheit inland, and 78 degrees Fahrenheit in the hills. And tonight will be 78 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 74 degrees Fahrenheit inland, and 68 degrees Fahrenheit over the hills.
Okay. And our extended forecast, are we seeing any changes in the next few days?
First, tomorrow and tomorrow night is for similar weather conditions.
All right. And of course, we are still in the hurricane season. Is there anything we need to be monitoring?
Tropical cyclone formation is not expected over the North Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, or the Gulf of Mexico in the next 40 hours.
All right. Well, that's great news then. Thank you so much for that update.
You're welcome.
You have a great day today.
You as well.
All right. Bye. There you have it.
Yeah. So maybe a little bit more showers, but nothing too intense.
Yeah. So it seems like we'll be returning back to the heat.
Yep.
So if you did get caught in that shower, don't be too concerned. It shouldn't be sticking around too long.
Although, was it just me, or were things starting to get a little bit cooler over the weekend?
Yes. With the rains that were coming, it was really great. You know, I do want to take the time, of course, to definitely say that we're paying attention to what happened in Cayo as well with the flooding that came as a result of the dams.
Yep.
Some families have been displaced, albeit most likely temporarily, but it's never a good situation when you have to leave your home.
No, absolutely. So, we always want to remind people that we are still in the hurricane season.
Yeah.
We're still in the rainy season. Try to always be prepared, be on the lookout for, weather advisories, especially when it comes to things like flash floods. You always want to make sure you're near a radio if you're in an at-risk community or location. So please stay safe and be prepared as best as you can.
Absolutely, yeah. I think for me, it was just a reminder because very often we do our updates and we're paying attention to systems that may be forming, and sometimes just heavy rains can cause unexpected problems. We've seen extreme flooding here in the city without any storms. We've seen TD16, Tropical Depression 16, pass through and cause terrible damage. So we do know that it doesn't have to be a hurricane to necessarily cause problems. So do keep paying attention to the weather updates. Yesterday, the Met, the forecaster did tell us that they did have an advisory out for that potential flood, or potential for flash floods, I should say. So it's always a good idea that you pay attention, especially if you live in a flood-prone area.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's Tuesday.
And you know what that means?
You tell me. You gotta sing it though.
And is it that time already? It's KTV Latino.
All right. There was some medley there.
Just a little bit. I mean, it's still a bit early in the morning for me, but by 8:30 I'll be definitely ready at least to listen.
I was gonna say, 8:30 you're still here, so no, and it's a singing night tonight, so we won't take away the shine from everybody's gonna go on stage tonight.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
But of course, it is KTV Latino tonight, 8:30 at the Bliss. We always remind you guys to come and watch, support your favorite singers. The talent is great this year as usual. And of course, if you can't make it out to the Bliss, you can watch it on Facebook. You can watch the repeats when they air.
Yeah.
So of course, I've been enjoying the season. I don't know, do you have any favorites or do you have any predictions?
I have three that I know I want to see in the finals.
Let's
I won't
hear.
say it though. No. But I've been paying attention, and I think at this point, I see three people that I think should very well be in the end. But of course, I have no control over it. It has to be who votes. But it has been a really interesting season. I think the introduction of the challenge song, I know quite a few people who say they really don't like it because they're difficult songs. Sometimes it's a female song and it's a man that has to sing it, or vice versa, or sometimes it's a duo, or it's completely outside of the genre that they're comfortable with. But I like that. I like the fact that they have to put in the work to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the stakes are pretty high in the competition. So I think it's great that the singers do get this sort of a challenge, especially if they're really passionate about music and it's something that they may want to pursue. There are these challenging or these stressful situations. So maybe it's a bit difficult or an extra layer of challenge that you're going through it on live TV.
Yeah.
But if you can come through that and you can make it all the way to the end, then of course it means that you definitely deserve that cash prize at the end.
Yeah, and the challenge songs this week, they are really going to be a challenge. So we got Suavecito. It's the first Suavecito of the season that's going to come on.
I've been waiting for that.
I know. Well, you wait for a good version of it. That's the thing. We also have, and this is going to be, I think, a challenge, because we've seen El Buki from the first season really blow this song away, Navidad Sin Ti.
Oh, yeah. And that's, we're coming up to that time of year, so
I was gonna say.
I'm always waiting for that one, too.
You can sing that all year round, right?
Oh,
it's like Mariah Carey's one.
For sure.
We have X.
Yeah.
So that's one of the fast-paced ones. That's actually a duo and one of the more recent songs. And Rafael is going to be taking that one on. We have Mariposa.
I know, that's like one of my favorites.
Oh.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is all like my sort of repertoire, but it's after a certain point in the night.
Then you're really going to love this one. And Desmond is going to have to do this one. Bidi Bidi Bam Bam.
Which I'm going to look forward to, for sure.
I'm wondering if they're going to have any kind of dance moves along with it. Suavecito has dance moves.
Yeah, for sure.
Mariposa will not really.
No, but Bidi Bidi Bam Bam definitely does.
Bidi Bidi Bam Bam.
And you have to go all the way there if you're going to perform that. Anything for Salinas.
Yes, and that's the thing. We watched the movie. We saw how much she put into her performances. So it is going to be really important that you can top. Oh, there you go. You can sing it.
Yeah.
That's the challenge for this morning. You have a challenge song.
For sure.
According to the producer. No, my morning voice hasn't started yet either. So. But it is going to be such a great time. And so we want to encourage you to come on out and see the show. The show happens tonight at the Bliss at 8:30. We have tickets here at Channel 5 on Coney Drive. They're at 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard and Smart's downtown office. Right?
Yep.
And if you can't go out to the Bliss, then it's live on Channel 5 and also on our KTV Latinos Facebook page. Tonight they should be down to 4, which is, it means that we have 2 more shows to go after that, and we'll find out who's going to be this season's champ.
I know. So, once again, we're near the end. Please vote for your favorites. Get those fingers working. It doesn't work unless you do the work as well.
All right. Okay, so we're going to shift to some morning motivation for today, and that's going to be our eye opener. And our eye opener is taken from dailyom.com, and it goes like this. Often we reincarnate on earth with our soul family, and often our most intense relationships are with our soul family. You meet someone for the first time and feel as if you know them already. You're in a town that you've never been to before, yet you recognize streets and buildings. You start playing a new sport and amaze everyone, including yourself, at your natural abilities and intuitive knowing of the rules. We often describe such experiences as déjà vu, the experience or feeling that a new situation has happened to us before. Then again, the possibility does exist that we have actually lived these experiences in the past, or rather in another lifetime. You can learn to visit your past lives through your dreams, meditation, and trance work. It is even possible to see full scenes of a former lifetime flash before you in your mind's eye if you were watching a movie. While looking at your past lives can be exciting and enlightening, it is important to remember that the answers you're seeking to this life can only truly be found by living this one. Look to your past to see where you've been, but remember that the life that matters most is the one that you're living now.
I mean, that's a great message. Definitely resonates with me because, I'm one of those people who, I do find it hard to live in the moment sometimes. I'm always thinking about, what could happen in the future, or I think constantly about, maybe something I did wrong or some little mistake I made in the past. So definitely being present, being in the moment is something that we all need to do from time to time. Take a step back and, just sort of enjoy where you are in the moment.
Yeah, and I think for me that's the whole thing of past lives. I think that's based on individual beliefs. But what really resonates for me, I think, is the end, and it actually follows up on yesterday's eye opener. It's talking about being in the moment. Naturally we reflect on our past to teach us what we've learned, or to reflect on what we've learned through our past experiences, and we're looking forward to the future because we want to grow. But we can't lose sight of what's happening right now, and I think that's perhaps one of the things that we all need to work on. So it's a great reminder for today.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even if we think about it from the perspective that sometimes when we do get stuck in our past or thinking about past lives, we get, sort of scared or apprehensive about trying new things when, opportunities come to us and we don't think about, all right, well, this is where I am now, this is what I've learned, let's jump into it. People think, oh no, let me not do this again, or let me not try something new because it might fail. But, it's all about being present, trusting yourself, using the past as a lesson, and, moving forward the best way you can.
That's such a great point, because I think one of the things that I ascribe to is yes, my past has taught me a lot, but what I keep on reminding myself is that the person I am today is not who I was then.
For sure.
So even if I perhaps venture into something similar, or want to take that same risk again that maybe I failed, I wouldn't say better equipped. I'm just a different person in a different mind frame. I could never be who I was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. So that makes me a different person entering into that challenge. I love that you said that. That's great insight for this morning.
Yeah, great.
All right. And so we do have a question that we want our viewers to chime in on today. So we're talking about KTV Latino, and we talked a little bit about what we're expecting to see on the stage. And so the question is, what song are you hoping to hear before the season ends? And there's not much more time left. There are only 3 shows left.
I know.
What about you?
I've been thinking. I mean, there's so many that I
Yeah.
could think about. I'm happy to. You know what? Why not? Let's stick with Marcelina. Why not? Why not hear some Como la Flor or
yeah.
you know, or some of the classics like
what's your-
Carcacha or
Yeah. What's your most famous song, Selena?
I. That's a hard one to think. It could be Bidi Bidi Bam Bam
True.
or No Me Queda Mas is also pretty big.
Oh, yes, that's a beautiful
It's
song.
one of my faves.
Yeah. Well, you know, since the season has started, it's interesting the journey that we've been on here, kind of looking at all songs and rediscovering songs that I loved when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so what I'm really stuck on is like old school Shakira.
Okay,
Like when Shakira
yeah.
was like punk rock.
Yeah, no, I know some of that.
Yeah, way before she was popular in the US, and she did these really like grungy songs that were really cool to sing. I'd love to see one of those.
Yeah, that would be really
Yeah.
cool. I mean, like apart from those classics that we always hear, like you know, I'm a big Asifue type of person. But I mean, I also like some of the more modern reggaeton songs as well.
True,
So that
true.
that would be nice to see some of the really recent hits. You know, some more Maluma, J Balvin, some of those guys.
Yeah.
You know, or even the modern Shakira too. I think
Yeah.
she's got some great songs. So I mean, I could think of probably a whole album of songs that I'd want to hear.
Yeah.
But we don't have enough time for that.
So what do you want to hear? That's the question. What are you hoping to hear? I think we never realize how much Spanish music we actually know until KTV Latino comes around.
That's
what
true.
song have you been looking forward to? And who would you want to sing it? Because not all of them can pull it off. I think, like, for example, the type of music I want to see, maybe Lala could do it. Well, I think Lala could do it, but it has to be a female voice. I don't
True.
really think any of the men could do it, but they could surprise me too. Who knows? But that's my thoughts on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So remember, you can chime in on our Facebook feed and let us know what you want to hear before the end of the season. All right. We got to get moving into our show for today.
Yeah, we've got a great lineup. For our first discussion, we are going to be speaking all about generic versus name brand medicine. We're going to be debunking some myths surrounding those two things.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a really interesting discussion.
All right. And the second part of our show, the Belize International Film Festival is almost here, and it's really a great time for people who love watching movies and seeing some creativity at work. And we're actually going to be talking to a Belizean director and producer. We all know him. He's Carlo Habet, and he's putting forward a film. It's called Time for Eat, and we're gonna get a little bit of information about it and see a little snippet as well in the second part of our show.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And finally, we are going to be speaking with the Salvation Army. It's that time of year, so we're going to be speaking all about the launch of their Kettle Appeal. So, you know, we see those every time, you know, all over the place starting around this time of year. So we're going to get to learn all about the history behind that. And they're going to be telling us what they have planned for the coming months for the end of the year.
Yeah, all right. So that's our lineup for this morning. What we're gonna do is go ahead and take our break. But before we do, we gotta leave you with that birthday shout out. And today we're gonna say happy birthday to
Amanda Burgess Acosta. So from all of us here at Open Your Eyes on Channel 5, we're wishing you a very, very happy birthday. And you know, we hope you have a great day and enjoy it.
All right. And with that, we'll take a break and we'll be back to get our first conversation started. Please stay tuned.
With over 100 years of service excellence in Belize, the Belize Bank
KTV Latino.
KTV Latino, the show you can't afford to miss. Come to the Bliss Center every Tuesday night at 8:30 and have a great time as this year's contestants compete for the grand prize of $10,000. There'll be lots of fabulous giveaways, and every Tuesday night you get a chance to win $100 cash. That's right, Zetro International will give away $100 cash to one lucky audience member. The fun and excitement continue with Ozzy the Clown and musical entertainment by No Fair DJs. So make it out to the Bliss every Tuesday night at 8:30 and enjoy the music show everyone's talking about. Get your tickets at Channel 5 on Coney Drive, 88 Shopping Center, and Smart Office on Albert Street. KTV Latino Season 4, it's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
KTV Latino.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
And welcome back to Open Your Eyes. If you're joining us now, we are jumping into a discussion about generic versus name brand drugs. And joining us for this conversation is a senior pharmacy lecturer and the former dean of the University of Belize, Ms. Lydia Thornton. Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Morning.
So maybe we can jump right into this discussion, just talking a little bit about, defining what we mean by generic, but what is a generic drug as opposed to, let's say, a name brand drug. What is the distinction?
Well, in pharmacy, you have what is called a non-proprietary medication, and that's a common name for the medications, right? The brand product is one that the company who originally researched and developed that drug gets to put their branding on that product for a period of time, right? So there's a whole process after research and development and marketing of a drug where the company that originally brought that drug to the market gets to brand that product, right? So for a number of years, they have what is called a patent on the drug. When that nears its expiration, then other companies can apply to begin to produce the generic product. So of course, at that point, they can't name it the same as the brand name, but the common name remains the same. So for example, in a product that I think everybody is familiar with and probably one of the most recognized brands is Tylenol. The generic name or the non-proprietary name is acetaminophen. So you have a whole long list of generic products with that name on the market, but it's the same active ingredient, and the companies who get licensed to produce the generic product have to meet the same standards to make sure that it's safe for people to take.
So. I think that's where some of the mystery comes from. We've all to really set the backdrop. Last month we had someone come forward and talk about how generic drugs were the only accessible medicine for some groups of people, and that they were substandard. And that's where I really wanted to kind of dive in understanding branding clearly makes a difference. If I wear a name brand sweater versus a no name brand sweater, you watch me right now, you wouldn't know the difference. How it feels on me might be a bit different. But how do you distinguish between the use of a brand name medicine versus a generic medicine?
A generic medicine coming from a company that has met all the requirements for production, there should not be any significant difference in how the person responds to the medication.
Okay.
It works the same, it's the same active ingredient.
Okay.
They need to meet the same standards in terms of the amount of the active ingredient in the product. There may be differences, like in the case of tablets, in shape, size, color.
Okay.
Those things would be different.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, some medication have a imprint on it. It would be different depending on the company it's coming from. But like I said before, for generic medications to come on the market, they have to apply to whatever regulatory body in the country that is manufacturing it and prove that they meet the same standards as the brand name product.
Yeah.
So yes, a lot of people think generic and immediately think inferior, and that's not true. Of course, because the company who first brought the drug to the market
Yeah.
had maybe 10, 15 years of patent,
Yeah.
that is the name that sticks out to us, and anything other than that is fake. That's
Yeah.
what we think, but
Yeah.
it's not true. But, you know, they've had 15 years to kind of recoup their investment in research, development, marketing, and that label and that brand becomes what we think of when we think of that particular drug.
And I kind of want to stick a pin there since you spoke about standards, because I think that is where the main, I think, area of concern is in, you know, in the minds of the public, because some people may think that perhaps it's subjected to a lesser standard of before it's introduced, or some people think that, okay, well, they know the formula but they don't test it, so it's just like people, doesn't go through, you know, clinical testing or whatever, or it's just people just copying things. Maybe they don't know what they're doing. They're just trying to make money to make a cheaper version. So there is concern. So maybe you can talk a bit about, you know, what the process is like for the drug to actually hit the shelf from,
When the brand name product is nearing the end of its patent, then other companies get to submit applications to be able to produce the generic product. And at that stage, they have to then prove that the drug meets the same standards as the brand name product. All right. Of course, it can be sold for less because the companies producing the generic product did not invest in the research and marketing and development of the original product, so they don't need to recoup that.
Yeah.
Right? So they then have the advantage of producing something that can be sold for less. A lot of the companies who originally bring the brand product to the market also produce a generic version, but it has to meet the same standards.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
But the ingredients list, though, they won't look exactly the same.
The brand, the active ingredient has to be exactly the same.
All right. So, like the one important thing that you need to get from this
What
medication.
may be different is what we call excipients, which would be the coloring agent, the binding agent, but they still have to meet a certain standard.
Okay.
So the inert things, the additives to the product that won't affect how the active ingredient work may be slightly different, but they have to prove that the medication, when it's taken, it's absorbed similarly. The person gets the same amount once they take it, and things like that.
Yeah, and going back to, you know, Marlene's question about, you know, the sort of discussion that's been happening in the public, you know, for the past few weeks. When it comes to, you know, testing and standards and all of this, one of the other concerns, I think, is that, you know, there may be different standards, you know, in different countries, you know, whether they're getting medication from the US or Mexico or South America or Europe. There may be different things. So when it comes to the Belizean situation, how is it that how is it that, you know, drugs are being able to be sold here, you know, taking into account that there may be different standards in different places? How do we monitor that and ensure that what is on the shelf here is, you know, safe?
Well, a couple of years ago, the Ministry of Health implemented the drug registration policies and guidelines for Belize. Before that, we didn't really have set standards in terms of what came into the country, right? And of course, by that time, we were already used to certain products, and very good products too. But at the same time some inferior medication. And drug registration is intended for the country to have minimum standards that these products have to meet. And I believe the guidelines that Ministry of Health use are coming from the World Health Organization and PAHO, because in country we don't have the facilities to do all our own testing. So the companies still have to be researched, right? The documentation that come on the medication before it's imported still has to be reviewed and hopefully authenticated that these things are legitimate, because in the technological age anybody can produce any kind of document. So that kind of background check has to happen on the companies before the medication gets to the country. There are certain things that have to be submitted in terms of paperwork about the medication and about the standards and to make sure that it meets the requirements.
What you're speaking of, I think, was a very major shift that took place in terms of professionalizing or being more rigid about the disbursement of drugs to the public. And that went from pharmacy licenses and the inspection of pharmacies, because we saw them popping up everywhere, and even where storage was not adequate. In other words, some medicines should be kept cold or out of the sun, but those things weren't being adhered to. You're a lecturer at the university. You're training young pharmacists to come out. What are your thoughts on some of the changes that we have seen over the past couple of years? Is it just long overdue? I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
Long overdue. The fact is, the laws that say you must have a registered chemist and druggist have existed from the 40s, 50s, right? Enforcement maybe was an issue. So we all know that for the safety of the public, there has to be a trained, licensed person in charge of medication and selling medication to the public. There, of course, because the laws are old, they didn't take into consideration some other things. So in terms of the new regulations for storage, for importation, for labeling, all of those things, it's very important, and it's all meant to safeguard the public. And so yes, it's long overdue. I do think that for most people, change is not always easy. And some resist change more than others, and it's a process. But when we really look at the principles behind it, I believe that there are things that are long overdue.
I mean, there are simple things like just having English or Spanish labeling, because sometimes it would be from somewhere that they don't even use the characters that we use in English. And so I think those things perhaps are a shift in the right direction. But when it becomes concerning is when there's a medication that I used to take that I no longer have available. And that's the interesting things about medications. What works for you doesn't necessarily work for me. I have terrible allergies, and I've tried so many different medication, but there's one that I found that worked. And I can imagine for someone who's struggling with hypertension or any kind of chronic illness, if that one medicine that they found that worked is no longer available, it's a tough spot.
Yes. When it comes to having available a particular medication, there are, I believe, things in place to bring in medications like on special orders, right? And it may take a little bit more time, it may be more expensive, I'm not sure. But the medication coming into the country, the importer can determine what it is they want to bring in and apply for that to come in. Of course, it may not be cost effective because it might not be something that a large number of people use, so it might sit on my shelf and expire. So the option of getting certain medication and special orders are, may be something that you have to look at, because given the size of our population, they do have to consider, the amount and what they bring in and how well it will move on the shelf. If it sits on the shelf and expires, then it's a loss as well.
But what about the new system has made it unavailable?
It may be that some of the companies that they would have gotten medication from in the past, it's not as easy for them to obtain some of the documentation that is required. All right. People have voiced different concerns in terms of the market size. What we are ordering from these people, it's maybe not worth it to them to go into producing all the documentation that we're asking them for.
There's a cost of producing the documentation?
I believe so. It's
okay.
Yes. So they might say, well, what you're ordering from us, it's small in terms of what we would be able to sell elsewhere.
So if I get maybe a few boxes of a particular
it might
medication,
not, for them to lose that from us, it doesn't.
interesting.
Yes.
And how do we, let's say, monitor, sort of what's the supply of any given, drug, because, we do have, populations living with chronic conditions, and it's important that, we have availability of certain medications. I know recently we've had a big discussions in the media about the shortage of the antiretroviral drugs for HIV patients, which some say are, reaching critical levels. So when we have, how do we monitor to make sure that, we have populations with, certain conditions and making sure that things are available for them as well?
Forecasting is always important. And making sure that you order with enough lead time. You have to take into consideration the length of time it takes for you to process the paperwork and depending on what part of the world it's coming from, for it to be shipped to Belize. All of those things have to be considered, and you have to give yourself enough lead time that it gets here. With the ARVs, I'm not sure exactly what the issue is. Because that is something that comes through Ministry of Health. But those things have to be considered at any point in terms of getting it. And like I said before, the drug registration process and the paperwork that goes with it, it's a huge shift. Change is challenging, and I believe almost 3 years into it, it may be time to maybe look at some of the issues that have popped up, because once a new process has been put to the test, then you begin to see problems
that's a good, I think that makes a lot of sense, going back in and saying, okay, what's working and what's not working, and what can we improve on.
It might just be, it doesn't mean scrapping the process, but maybe tweaking some things. And one of the things that I always encourage my colleagues to do is, those who work in the pharmacies and in the clinical area, is to document and report and submit the reports. It doesn't make sense for you to complain about it if you're not going to act on it. So documentation, in my view, writing objective reports and submitting it to the regulatory authorities, so that there is, you can begin to see the trends, and maybe then it's easier to address rather than one-off complaints with no documentation.
Going back to the conversation about the type of drugs that are available in Belize, we spoke of the difference between brand name and generic drugs, but there are also two other types of drugs that used to enter, I don't know if they still do, that's counterfeit and contraband. And these are the type of drugs you don't want in the country. Can you talk about, the danger and just what you know in terms of whether they were accessible to Belizeans?
Oh, yeah. Because of our very porous borders and what I like to call the suitcase trade, right? People were bringing in all kinds of medication, and you never know what's in it. It might be something that won't hurt you. It could be something that can harm you really bad, right? So not having the counterfeit medications, we try to train pharmacists in how to spot them. Because as a pharmacist, you do have a responsibility to know who you're buying from, and to know that it's coming from a source that you can trust. All right? So
there are ways to identify if the pill is counterfeit.
Yes, because the things that they counterfeit are medications that are in demand. Right?
Like brand names?
Yes, the brand names. And so it might be something as simple as the type of font that they use or the leaflet that is in there. There are all kinds of spelling and grammatical errors. So you can pick it up.
Yeah.
With the contraband, again, it might be the legitimate product, but they're bringing it in the trunk of the car, heat, improper storage. Those things affect the medication and how they work. So somebody pops up in front of your pharmacy and pops open the trunk and say, I have this for so much less, you have to question it.
Yeah.
So knowing your source and buying from the people who are licensed to bring in these products is important.
Yeah.
Knowing your source is very important.
Why would things like sun exposure, heat exposure compromise, especially pills? 'Cause
Yeah.
liquids maybe make
it
sense.
degrades the product because
Okay.
the binding agent might be affected by, so how the medication dissolves and is absorbed would change. And sometimes it's just the temperature to which the active ingredient can be subjected to, and how it affects it.
Yeah.
You know.
And do you think that we're being vigilant enough about, tracking and trying to catch this type of activity that's maybe going around the country?
I think we have improved, but there's
More work to be done?
more work to be done, and I'm sure human resources is a problem. Within the Ministry of Health, they have significantly stepped up on the number of inspectors.
Yeah.
But it's, in my mind, still not enough to really be vigilant in all areas.
Yeah.
We went from a period where there was one inspector for the entire country
Whoa.
to maybe one per region. But when you look at the size of the districts and the regions, there's still more room to go.
Yeah.
So
that's-
human resource is, maybe an issue, and of course with that financing. But yes, so we've improved a lot, but there's a lot more room.
And as a professional in your field and an academic, you're working with the young pharmacists and even experienced ones since UB started their bachelor's program. There's a responsibility from the pharmacist as well. And because we know more with technology and science, we know the dangers that now exist with taking medication that's not prescribed, taking counterfeit medication. And you don't willingly take it. You think you're getting the real
You
thing.
think you're getting a deal.
Yeah. But then yet there's still some pharmacies in the country that are dispensing at random,
Yeah.
People can get anxiety meds, antidepressants, they can get antibiotics, they can get things that really should come with the advice of a doctor.
Well, for anyone who has gone through pharmacy school, any pharmacy program, the ethics is an important piece. So they all know what their responsibilities are.
Yeah.
They know the laws. They know what their legal responsibilities are. And one of the missions of the practice of pharmacy is to make sure that you're doing what is in the best interest of your patient. So if you are just guided by your ethics and the laws, that should not be happening. You should not have wait to somebody to inspect you and look at your records to do what is right. You know what is right. So for me, there's no defense of that.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to antibiotics, it's a serious issue. When it comes to resistance, the misuse of anti-anxiety medication, of opioid narcotics, those things are, they cause havoc. And so the risk associated with it and why it's controlled, and so you have a responsibility to do what is right.
Now it's even hard to get sinus medication.
Yes, that's for a different reason, but
Well, because it's actually a substance that people use to make harder drugs.
Yes, yes.
And it's interesting because Gavin and I were talking about it. When you travel, it's always in a locked shelf, and you used to be able to get it in Belize, things like Sudafed and stuff like that. And now, because we've been tightening restrictions, it's also comes with showing that I need the medication before I can get it.
Yeah, it's one of the precursor. The active ingredients is what is called a precursor medication to produce illicit drugs.
Yeah.
And so there's that added restriction on it.
Yeah. Lydia, I'm sure you've paid attention to the conversations that have been taking place, and when people say, "Oh, brand name drugs aren't available, you're getting substandard one," what concerns you when you hear people feeling fearful
Yeah.
of taking generic medication?
I think that patients or customers should always feel comfortable having pharmacists that they can trust
Yeah.
and that they can talk to. If you're unsure of the medication that is now available, have that discussion with your pharmacist. I think the pharmacists have a responsibility to make sure that who they're getting the medication from is a legitimate, known source that can be verified,
Yeah.
and that the quality of the drug can be authenticated, and to feel safe that what they have on the shelf is safe for their patients. And being open to having the discussions with your patients to find out how they're responding to the medication and if they are getting the results that are expected. From the level of the physician, again, monitoring and following up to make sure that your therapeutic goals are being met. And if those things are not happening, then there should be some kind of discussion between the physician, the patient, the pharmacist, and proper documentation so that it can be reported. Because it may be that some products that don't meet the standards but somehow got in are available, but it has to be, you have to get at it quickly. And but start with having the discussion and monitoring. Monitoring is important, documentation and reporting, so that the ministry is aware that, we have some medications that really aren't cutting it, if that is the case,
Yeah. What advice would you give to people if they have to make, let's say they have a chronic condition or even something seasonal that they have to deal with, and what they're used to is no longer available, whether it's a brand name or just no longer available in the country. What's your advice to them about how to go about, because I could get frustrated and just say, man, I can't get my whatever it is, and now I'm going to be sick.
If it's a particular brand that you're used to and it's only the generic that is now available, again, start with that discussion and close monitoring to make sure that you are responding the correct way. If the product is no longer available, then the pharmacist can, on your part, try to get that product into the country safely. Like I said, there are special orders and different things that can be done to address situations like that. In terms of medication not working, apart from the quality of the medication, there are a number of other factors that influence how you respond to your medication. And again, it would mean that the pharmacist is engaging in a conversation with the patient, with the client, to see how they're taking it, when they're taking it, if they're taking it, and what are some of the other factors that might come into play.
And the doctor has a role to play.
The doctor as
well.
well. Monitoring. We tend to, we might go to the doctor, we get a prescription, and he says, come back in 2 months, and we don't go back until maybe 2 years later, and there's no follow-up. So that is an important step.
Or take your medication every day at the same time
as
with
prescribed
food
and directed.
And then you just take it when you remember.
Or
that
when
might
you
be a
feel
reason
like
it's
it.
not working. But it's just to be clear though. I think you mentioned something so important. It was a major shift when we looked at the cracking down of the drugs that were being brought in and also dispersed to the public. And so it definitely is an adjustment period. I'm sure you've been paying attention. What are some of the things that you've identified or perhaps heard in discussion along with the students that you're working with that you think are perhaps some of the critical areas that need to be addressed next or maybe tweaked to be better?
I think from practicing pharmacists, the turnaround time in terms of when you submit your paperwork, and getting everything cleared for you to bring the product in. Because if there's a delay in that process, then there's a delay in the medication coming into country. And so that then can lead to stockouts. Right? Some people still complain about the amount of paperwork and the type of paperwork that is required. There may be, other things that can be looked at, like if the drug is registered in another country, right, from the same manufacturer. Is that something that you can kind of piggyback on, or do you have to reproduce all that documentation again? So, like I said, almost 3 years into it, it may be time to begin to examine some of those things.
Yeah.
But I believe that we can help that process if we properly and clearly document what our issues are and subject and produce the reports to the relevant people.
We haven't heard from the Pharmacists Association. I know you're a member. So is there perhaps discussion?
I believe they have been
Yeah.
in discussion with Ministry of Health on,
Okay.
on some of the issues.
All right.
Yep.
Well, thank you for coming in. We do appreciate it. We took you out to the classroom to come here and teach us a bit as well, and help us understand the difference between generic and brand names and some of the changes we've been seeing in the pharmacies.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about a film that will be featured in the Belize International Film Festival, produced and directed by Belizean. Please stay tuned.
With over 100
and we're moving into our second conversation for today. The Belize International Film Festival kicks off this week, and today we are going to have a conversation about a Belizean film, a Belizean short that is being submitted. We have with us on set Carla Habet, who is the director and the producer, and the company is called Veritas Film?
Veritas Productions.
Veritas Productions. And we have the actress, Nicole Hamilton. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so this is an exciting project, and Carla, let's jump right in. This is your first entry as a short, right?
Yeah, so it's my first film, really. Something I've always wanted to do, and I guess you guys have seen stuff I've done, like commercials, music videos.
Yeah.
And I guess it was with an eye to doing something like this one day. And we wrote this script because we thought it was makeable. There wasn't anything that was too crazy that would stop us production-wise. So as you know, it's a movie that's really an ensemble cast. It's really based on the talent. It's really based on the strength of the script, and I guess what it's portraying. So it's not easy, I think, too. Like when you strip everything away and you say, well, whatever is left has to be great. Like that pure movie must be good. So I guess right now we're kind of waiting to see the response. But so far, the few people who have seen it have given us positive response, and I think the actors too on set, they gave me a little bit more confidence that we're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And that I guess what we're portraying is something real that I guess needs to be shown. It's a lot of issues, I think, because I think setting out to make the movie, we wanted to make something Belizean, and that's not always a goal per se, but I think being that there are not really many narrative Belizean films, I think we wanted something that could resonate, and I think also something that for me would be meaningful within my age group and below. So I guess we came up with this pretty gritty take on Belizean lifestyle, especially urban, that I think touched a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think gritty would be the word. I mean, it's. I wish I could have
That's
actually
your
given
review, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I wish I could have shown you the full thing first, but I guess just the way it's going right now, you can't. But I actually would still send it to you. And actually, too, later we're getting an interview with Channel 5, and they are going to see the film before they interview us.
That's going to be good.
Yeah.
It helps a lot. Because right now we're in the dark, literally, we haven't seen it.
I know, yeah, that's why it's kind of weird talking about it, with you,
But no, it's fine, because now you can fill in a lot of the backstory. But, I want to tap into the motives in terms of producing a film, because we've been working so hard in this country to kind of get the industry going, but it's a lot more challenging than people think. Even writing the script, first of all.
Yeah.
We don't have writers groups, we don't have mentors who could help you with it, and then everything from getting the right talent to work with, time, because most people have jobs, all of these other elements. So what prompted you? There's not necessarily, I know Suzette will kill me, but there's not a local market for films.
Yeah.
But you still wanted to do it anyway.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's not a local market. I just think that no one has served this market. There has to be someone that makes the first move. And I just felt like every country has their film, right? They have their identity on film. And I thought as Belizeans, I think we know what makes us Belizean. We talk about it a lot. We're natural storytellers. I think like anyone you meet on the street, they're going to give you like a serious story at any point in the day.
So just call it shush.
Yeah, right. But let's call it a story for now, right? So I mean, innately we have this, I guess this need as well to share. But I thought, okay, whatever I put, I wanted to reflect Belize, because I think too that unfortunately, a lot of things that have to do with Belize are just like, here's this beach, here's this beautiful water. It's like a vacation. It's like paradise, and it's like it is paradise. I do love my country. But there are a lot of other things like on the underbelly that are going on that we talk about a lot, but I don't know if anyone really shows.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I could put this on film, if I put this on this blank canvas and I show people and they hold it up and they look at it, they might take it seriously. They might say, that is a situation we're living in. But I never looked at it like this. And I'd like to think that I try to show things from as omniscient a perspective, that I'm just trying to show you what's happening. I'm not.
You're holding up a mirror.
Yeah, I'm not trying to judge, and I'm not trying to come from any one angle. And I think so far that we've gotten that response, that it's something that is just real. It's not something that I'm trying to influence anyone to believe, but at the end of the day, you might say, hey, that's that seems like something that would happen like on a Friday night in Belize City,
Well, Nicole seems to be saying yes.
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask you about that because I mean I've looked at the trailer, of course, and it seems like we're exploring some topics that do get discussed, but not necessarily, as you say, highlighted, especially like on an international level. We're talking about things that came through, at least for me, or like things like politics. You got drugs and relationships between the two, or stuff like that. So I wanted to ask about how it was you decided to focus on certain themes, and what sort of messages you want people to take away from it after watching the film.
Sure. I think, well, you mentioned, and I think in the trailer too, it also comes off really powerful, that politics is like a big undertone, like of everything. It's there, and I think even from the writing stage, because I co-wrote it with my cousin Andre, and so we were back and forth a lot of times with lines about what's going on and what's natural. I think that was very important to us to make something that felt natural, that felt real, not forced, right? Because I think too that you have sometimes this trend where Belizeans like to overact like they're theater actors, which is fine. It's a style, but we wanted again something more down to earth. So I think politics was something that we realized pervade our life. Yeah. So of course it would be in a movie. I think that's how we looked at it, right? Is that it's a part of Belizean life, is that we're all touched by it in some way or know someone who is in it, and so we either root for one side or we just shut up because we're afraid. So there's so many dynamics, I think, to the political landscape, and I think for me, I just didn't like the way that it was in everything, and I thought, well, it would be in the movie, so but I think there's also a lot of other issues too that are very serious, things like the way we treat our women, also even the social pressures that men have, to actually be a man. Things like these, I think, come out without being like in your face, right? But I think if you watch it, even the conversations people have, there's certain things that come across like, hey, I have a bachelor's degree, I can't get a job. Like things like that, I think that are not necessarily heavy, but they just kind of flesh out the backstory, of Belize, so I think for me, making something Belizean, making something real was definitely the primary drive, but I wanted something that, like you said, that if we would look at it, it would really make us think twice about the things that we're doing and the things that we kind of allow to happen.
Yeah. So you said it took over a year to get to this point. That included getting your talent on board. So Nicole, tell us how you got recruited, and when you read the script, what made you feel like you wanted to be a part of it?
Okay. Well, a friend of mine, Vanessa Edwards, the makeup artist, she told me there's a film that's coming up and I think you're going to be perfect for the role. So I was like, okay. I didn't even ask what the role is, but because we're good friends, I was like,
you trust her?
Yes. So I went, and then when I met Carlo and they gave me the script, ironically, the name of two of the female characters was Nikki and Rosa. And I was like, my name is Nicole and my close girlfriend's name is Rosa. So I asked Carlo, is this biased? And they told me they thought it was, good names for some party girls. I'm like, okay, at least my God-given name is Nicole and not Nikki. So when I tried the script, I did both roles first. I tried both, and it just turned out I was more of a dominant person. So Nikki was the role that I ended up having.
So Nicole is playing Nikki.
Yes, Nicole is playing Nikki. And while I'm supposed to be somewhat of a, we don't want to say groupie, but everybody has their main fans and their diehard fans. So I'm a diehard fan in the film. Not giving you too much of it, but yes, she's I would say the head of the two.
Yeah.
So the role was quite ideal for me, and then the fact that, like Carlos said, it highlights different aspects, and being one of the female characters in the film, I basically see, like he says, it's highlighting different issues that we go through as females, and you could see it outright, what role I play, what would be the consequences of every action that I take in the film.
Yeah.
And while it's not mainly focused on, it's highlighted, so it's like you're seeing it, you know what's gonna happen, or you already preview, what might happen, what could happen, but it's not genuinely focused on, but it's there. Yeah. Just like with the politics, as he said, everyone in our generation has some story to tell about politics. While politics is in the film, it's not mainly highlighted. So it's every aspect of Belizean culture, I would say, is highlighted, but not focused on so that you would have a biased opinion.
And, in your preparation and, other than, obviously the name, did you find that, there were similarities between you and the character, or was there certain personal experiences that you've had that you were able to bring certain things out of that, your performance on screen?
For me, it came naturally. Like Carlo gave so much motivation. Him, Ryan, the entire cast when we were filming. Most of the time, their feedback would be perfect, just like that. Do it just like that again. I'm like, okay, that's great. It's not
That's
something
encouraging.
exactly. It's not something I need to work on. And then for the film, it was like I had a lot of similar experience to what Nikki goes through in the film. Not everyone that you cross paths with has, your best interests at heart. And in the film, you'll see that happening a lot. While you think that someone is there for you, Nikki has a rough time in the film.
Dum dum dum.
Yes.
Betrayal. Okay. It's interesting hearing how you explain it, because I think what it seems to me, and as I said, I've not seen the film, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost feels like you're being a bit disruptive here. I joke sometimes on the show, maybe not really joking, but saying something, that we wear great makeup as a country. We beautiful beaches, beautiful culture, delicious food, so much to be proud of, but it masks quite a bit of really terrible challenges. And it seems that this is the part of Belize. You want to take off the makeup off Belize and still show her she's beautiful, but without her makeup.
Yeah, and we're all flawed in a sense. So I don't think we should be ashamed, but I think it's like the first step is always like admitting of a problem, right? And so I don't want to be like overly deep about it, but in a way, yes. Like I wanted to make something that was social commentary that people could look at and could say, hey, this is something new. Like we've not seen it before. Obviously, I'm not blazing a trail because it happens in other countries, but I'm taking a formula that works elsewhere and bringing it to Belize, and I want to see how it would work. And I want to think it can, but I think because it's so new, I don't know what to think. And so I'm kind of doing these rounds, and I'm talking about it because I have to. It's a part of the promotion. But I'm also myself a little bit just kind of tentative, I guess. I'm just kind of waiting to see what I'm interested to see how people are going to accept it and how they're going to, I guess, take it.
Yeah.
But from the writing, production phase or whatever, knowing that you were going to be tackling some of these, let's say taboo topics, for the, in a sort of original way, at least in the Belizean context, were you kind of nervous about doing that, especially considering that, some people might misinterpret or, have a negative reaction to what you put out there? So was that a concern for you as well as you were going along?
Definitely. And I think like even now that it's done, I still have that concern like post, right? But I think it's an interesting process because like I said, it took long. It shouldn't take that long, but we wrote it over a few months, and then it took me a long time to actually convince the guys to let's just get down and do it. And we finally did about almost a year after we wrote it. And we're going through it, and we bring in the actors, actresses, and honestly, like what Nikki said, like honestly, she like gave like the first few lines, and I was like, huh. Yeah, I want to think you're hired. That's exactly the character I wrote, So like, no, for real, it was exactly matched. So but then we ended up getting another young lady, and we changed the name for the second one, which I think is kind of funny. We changed from Rosa to Kiki, and
Kiki.
Which I thought was cool because you have Nikki and Kiki, and they both match. But sorry, coming back to the point is that even when you're on set and you're running through your lines again, and you look at it and you're like, damn, this is some explicit stuff too, not in the sense of like cursing, but it's giving a very real scenario, very real. I don't think that we're, what I like about it, I don't think we're over dramatizing either, because I think some people can be heavy-handed with how they want to teach you things. And I think it's a teaching movie, but the lesson comes, I think the lesson comes short, but the lesson comes late, and it doesn't come heavy. And I think even at the end when the lesson is there, it's more like it's now in your hands as the viewer. You can make a choice, you can make a decision. It's not easy, it doesn't happen fast, but we can change. I think that's kind of what it leads to in the end. If I could not really spoil, but I think my idea is that I want to encourage people to first of all look at ourselves and then say, hey, we can be better than this.
Did you have moments where perhaps in producing you had to be reined back and be like, oh, or you pulled your own self back, maybe I'm pushing a bit too far?
I actually don't think so. I don't know. Do you think that?
No, he
No.
was
Yeah.
easy to work with.
Yeah.
Because he could read emotions real well. So he would take a look and I guess he would be like, probably they've had it for today, but then he won't
Yeah.
say it. He'll be like, okay, just one more shot.
Yeah.
And then we'll eat.
Yeah.
And he knows that's the key word. Once he says we'll eat, it's like, okay, once he says we'll eat, that means we can't get back in our outfits. That means we're done for the day.
Is that why it's called Time to Eat?
Time to eat, right? Yeah.
Always enough time to eat.
Well, I think, I think it was maybe like halfway through the movie, we were thinking about titles, and I don't know if we really made it just around the dinner, but I think obviously it played a role, and then the conversation that happened, and what you eat. All of that is, to me, interesting about the movie, but I think there's also this idea that everybody in Belize is sort of like waiting for their turn, right? I mean, I know you get this idea that everyone's waiting for that day, that payday that maybe may never come. Instead of us working hard every day and just reaping the fruits of your labor on a weekly or monthly basis, we just wait for that one payday, and that's like our time to eat. And then the minute we have that payday, now we want to just like go crazy, and we go back to the situation we were in before, right? So I just felt like it was a good title because I think we're all in this perpetual waiting to eat sort of mode in Belize, whatever we call eating,
Well, you see, because I thought when you started talking about the political undertones, which that's how you describe it, I haven't seen it, that's a very common phrase that is used in terms of politics, that when there's a change in government, well...
Certainly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that definitely
Yeah.
plays a role as well, yeah.
Okay, so we have Nikki here as one of the actresses. Tell us who else is involved in this project.
Well, some names...
Nicole, sorry, before people start mixing you up with your character.
Yeah, well, I think we have a really nice ensemble cast, and we have people like Stig the artist, who is no stranger to the Belizean public. He's worked for you guys, he's a Champ alum, love working with
Since
him.
he was 16.
Yeah, and honestly, I've always been like a fan of Stig, and he knows that we've made music videos with him already too. There's a mutual respect between us that we would always work together. He was great. He actually played his role excellent, which is a sort of like an ambivalent type, which I thought too was. I think there's like someone for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think watching it, I just love what every actor brings to their role. There's also Horatio Luis Guerrero, who's also from
He did the novella in San Pedro, right?
He's done a few other features too. Actually, I think one recently did was Torch, that was in the Barbados Film Festival. So he's also very experienced, and he brings a lot of passion and fire to a role too that is maybe the least desirable role to play. So he does it well. He really does.
He made it his. He actually made it his.
Yeah, and I'm really proud of all of the actors, actresses, because I think for maybe at least half the cast, you're dealing with characters that don't on the surface look like good people. They don't look like people that you want to portray, and you have that kind of shame that you don't want to be associated with someone, but I think they were all pros. They were all really courageous, and I think that they all saw what was behind the script, and for that I'm really eternally thankful to them, because I was waiting to see what their reaction would be like after they saw the script. And everyone was more like, I see what you're doing. Yeah. Let's do this.
Because for instance, my character, when the film actually comes out, there'll be a lot of critique about her. And you'd have to be, a lot of judgment based on how she plays her role, or what basically is her role when you watch the entire film. And you had to be open to be willing to take that when it comes out in the public. It's like, are you going to be okay with the public, just like you said, blurring the lines that might be your personality in reality?
Yeah. Besides your actual character, which one of the characters really resonate with you the most? That they were really outstanding in the role that they played in the film?
I would say Tremet's character,
Okay.
The driver, because Tremet naturally has a persona that he takes command when he's in a room, and whenever he's doing his lines, if you were doing something, you would come and just have that moment right there. I just need to see what he'll see or what he's about to do. And he, like everyone, he made the role his, but in such a unique way. It's like he just at some point, it's like whatever with the script, he'll improvise, and when he improvises, it's sometimes better than the script.
He did well. No. Well, the thing is that we do have some ad libs, and Tremet is probably the main one. But he actually, I told him afterwards. I said, you took what was essentially the smallest role, and you kind of made it as big as every other role. And in some ways, you steal some of the scenes because he's not afraid to go there because his character also is definitely an undesirable type. I mean, if there's some borders and you're not sure about some other people, his one is definitely one that you'd be like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know, but he took, like Horatio, he took like real pleasure in that and bringing that character to life, and I mean, I'm eternally grateful.
Okay, I'm tired of being teased, and I'm sure the viewers are the same. So what we're gonna do is take a quick look at the trailer, and then we can come back and just have a few more reflections, right?
Perfect.
Okay, great. So you wanna do the intro right there in that camera?
Okay, so I would say this is the official premiere. It's on YouTube, guys, if you want to see it after this, but we're officially now premiering the trailer for Time for Eat 2019. Enjoy.
Alex, man, yo, you're an half-star. Man, I never believe this is a political rally.
Don't know. That's how PDP do it. You know how the kids idolize this man.
Your reputation precedes you, of course.
All lies, I'm sure. I live like you, cuz. Like, only on the film nice, no, but people are not nice, bro. Take one for the team, man.
I don't know if you get a sense about who hosts this.
How wanna know each other?
Young lady, these are ardent PDP supporters. VIP.
Next thing, be real. You can't tell me that you surprised that they know what less crew they don't care about nobody else but themselves.
Sometimes I forget to add this.
My question.
But me stay true to those who stay true to me. Big up me brother them from BMP. Land of the free where nothing come free. If you violate then you're going to pay the fee.
And there we have it, right?
I think I cut out the back. There was another. There was actually another line I was looking for that I cut out specifically, but I missed that one.
Yeah.
Let's not draw attention.
So there we go. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
So that's all in one night. The movie is all in one night.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
That's
we shot it pretty much
night.
at night exclusively.
Yeah.
So what was it like? I heard Nicole saying about how you are as a director. In terms of the whole production and casting process and stuff, making the vision come to life, what was it like, and do you think that you got the end result is more or less what you wanted when you started out?
I think so. Yes, I got what I wanted. It's been a long process. Like I said, to me, it's definitely longer than it should have been for a movie of this length. But good things come to those who wait, I suppose. But I feel like there's a lot of like checkpoints in between that you kind of look at it and you take stock and say, well, is that what I want? And there were some points when it wasn't, to be honest with you. But I think now I'm satisfied with it, and I really feel that I've done the most I can do with what I had. And I think as a director, producer, that is kind of like my barometer. Because I think in my early days, I used to always get obsessed with making like the best thing that was really not possible, right? And you can only do what you can with what you have. Mm-hmm. So I think once, make sure I lock down, first of all, it's a good script. Then secondly, it's good actors. You get your locations. You have to have a good crew. Then you as a director have to make some magic happen between all of these elements, tie it together. And I'm really, and then you go into post, so that's another thing, which I think that was more the headache. And everything else was pretty easy except when you get to post. That's where, and I think because of the firstness, nature of this situation.
You wanted it to be.
Yeah. And then we also didn't have the kind of expertise that I would say you need for a feature, which makes sense because we never had one like that, you know what I mean? So I had to reluctantly also get some help from outside, and we were lucky to get some help from, the Mexican Embassy hooked up with some people that were pros that do great color and great sound. So I know now that not just for Belize, but if I want to shop this at other festivals, which I will, that we have something, and something Belize can be proud of, to say that this was made with the highest technical quality. For me, that's important, and then the content is there, which is the main thing.
All right. And so it is entered into the film festival. How can people see it?
Okay, so it's premiering Friday. Mm-hmm. Friday at 7:30. But I think there's a couple of really short shorts in front of us. Mm-hmm. So it'll probably be like around 7:45 at Princess. So we're gonna be out there. Also, we have, just as like a bigger, more press thing, we have like a red carpet premiere on Saturday, which we're circulating invites to. So You're invited. You guys are invited.
Okay.
It
was almost a bit reluctant. Like, yeah, well, since I'm here.
Yeah, I'm sure some of you. No, actually, well, you guys do because media-wise, I want to. You guys always have your.
So you're doing your own premiere for. Your short.
but I am being assisted by Niche, so they will give me the Bliss, basically, which is very important. I think it's an iconic spot and it seats a lot. So we really want to get a great audience. So the Saturday, which is invite only, but it's a lot of invites. Is what I'm saying. So a lot of invites are going to go out. We're gonna have like a Q&A session afterwards too with the cast and crew, for press and also fans, and a short reception afterwards to just kind of like mingle and get some pics and stuff like that.
Yeah, get some pics with the actresses.
Yeah.
So Nicole, how do you feel about people seeing the movie?
I can't wait.
Yeah?
Yes, I'm excited for them to see.
All right. So Saturday is going to be the premiere of the movie to your invited guests, but on Friday night, it'll be screened as a part of the film festival, along with other shorts, I'm sure, and so people can check it out there as well.
Yes, at 7:30.
Right. Yeah. And the trailer is on YouTube if you want to get a taste as to what the movie's all about. All right. Anything else you'd like to share with us? You're going to move into feature film now after this?
I want to, but I think I might have one more short up my sleeve first, which is sort of cultural too, but a little more folkloric. It's a little different. I'll just put that out there. But after that, I want to do a feature. It's just that a feature is so daunting, just the thought of it. But it definitely
because this one is how long?
This is 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah. And about 16 with the credits. I think at one point we were even aiming for as much as 22, and I made it like an episodic type.
Yeah.
But in the end, we just tightened it up. And I think that's what I like about it too, is that it's really packed. Yeah. I mean, for 15 minutes, it's like chop, chop, chop. Yeah. Sometimes you can't even breathe with like a joke and another one, which, I just like that there's always something. Like every second is filled with something.
All right. And the short is called Time for Eat. And so are you going to disclose where you got the fried chicken for the cover shot? That's always a big debate in Belize, right?
Well,
I'm kidding.
I hate to give free press, but there is actually a line in the movie which alludes to this, where the guy says, "This is not kick down, but they are work." So my personal favorite is kick down. That's a kick down tree alas right there.
And there you go. That is uniquely Belizean. All right. So thank you so much for coming in and telling us all about your short. It's called Time for Eat. And you can see it at the opening of the film festival on Friday. Please check it out, show your support, and share your thoughts. But that's it for us with this segment. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the launch of the Christmas Kettle Appeal with the Salvation Army. Please stay tuned. right. And what a better welcome back than that, setting the tone for what we're going to talk about, the launch of the Christmas Kettle Appeal. And there on the sax, we had Major Jonathan Kelman, who is the district commander for the Salvation Army. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, are you out of breath? Oh, okay. I would have assumed. We have with us as well Michael Berry from Bravo Motors. And that's because there's a very unique partnership here that takes place every year, right?
Of course.
But good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Let me give my full disclosure. I typically am very much against talking about Christmas until after Garifuna Settlement Day. But for this cause, the Salvation Army, we will definitely make an exception, right?
Good. That's a good exception.
Yes. But it is such it's an important fundraiser. And I think that one that we see around all the time that we just don't realize how important it is to kind of help out. So let's start there.
Yes, well, we have been doing this now for several years, really.
Yeah.
And as you said, it has become pretty much commonplace.
Yeah.
And just last week I was at a function and somebody said, okay, now your busy time is coming up because some people are aware, they look forward to it.
Yeah.
And especially at this time, we have this slogan that says, need has no season. But of course, especially at this time, somehow there is this air of expectancy and hope. And when you look around, you say, okay, I really want to do something more than what I do really during the year. And hearts are tended towards giving. Hearts are also tended towards receive. And there is a facade really that people have. You really don't know what's happening on the inside, and need is really always there. And so we get this opportunity to really come close and touch hearts. And we really look forward to the opportunity, and we thank the public for all they have done in the years gone by.
Yeah.
So maybe we can also talk a little bit about, what sort of work, the Salvation Army does do in terms, especially at this time of year, and sort of the programs that, are the ongoing, in terms of the ways that you assist, people in need.
Okay. Well, first of all, the Salvation Army is a church, but with a social arm. And this is what mainly people will probably know us. We come like a tree, with the church being the trunk, and then the other parts being the branches, and people will come to us through a different branch. So we have the primary school on Cemetery Road, and over 142 students there. Some fine products have come from that school. It's still going on now, and there's a feeding program attached to the school because we know that they are needs and we want to keep them with good nutrition. So we work on that. Also, there are a few sponsors that help with that program, but pretty much we fund it. And there's also two large food pantries that we run. There's also the Raymond Park Night Shelter and the Gans Restaurant. There's a thrift store for recycled goods. But even though we may sell some of these goods at a low price, we also really cater for people that are affected by flood and fire and these kind of things. So therefore, it would be a giving and not a sale. We use the proceeds from any sale towards actually recycling it back into funding the projects, because the project's grown really throughout the whole year. So, but coming into Christmas now, we focus more on the children's dinner, which over the years has catered for about 600 to 700 children.
It's a big
it's a big
lunch. I should say.
Yes, it's a big event, helped by people like Old Belize and a number of other smaller entities. But we also have distribution for children, which Mr. Barry will talk about, the toy drive. But we don't only deal with the children at the Christmas dinner. There's over 1,400 children really encompassing in the gifts. And there's also the Christmas hamper distribution, which caters for over 1,400 families.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yes. In addition, we will go to the hospital and rest homes. Also, it's a big, really, effort at this time.
And your Kettle Appeal is a part of your fundraising efforts.
Yes.
Yeah. So how much of what is collected from the Kettle Appeal, how much does that help to sustain? Is it just for your Christmas donations? Is it year round? What?
Well, it wouldn't really cover the year-long stuff, but we use mainly the Christmas kettle to do a lot of the stuff that we do at Christmas.
Yeah.
There's a mail appeal, and some people will get letters in the mail. We use that towards Christmas also if funds come in time, but then that helps with the ongoing programs throughout the year. But mainly the kettles is for Christmas.
And Michael, the partnership between Bravo and Salvation Army has been an integral one in terms of looking at collection of items for the children, right? Talk to me about that.
Actually, Bravo Motor has been partnering with Salvation Army for as long as I've been there, over 20. I've been there 17 and it's been there about 25 years. So we've been in this thing for a long while.
Yeah.
And what we do is act as the vehicle behind this whole operation.
Yep.
We would put out the barrels. We have our staff go out and check the barrels, sort out the toys, and we're also present at the dinner and giving out the toys, you know. So we look
So you're
forward
Santa
to it.
helpers.
Pretty much. This year we've been asked to be Santa as well, so we're working on that part of it. We have one of our employees
Santa provide the present.
we have one of our employees that is going to be doing that part of it, but we look forward to it. Every year is something that we see the need for in Belize. The children are the assets of the future, and we need to make sure that they're well taken care of. And Bravo has been doing that, like I said, for many years, and we continue to work hand in hand with them as we go through this process. And we ask heavily for the donations to come out. The reason why we're doing it so early this year is to make sure we have enough toys. We would like to have a lot more toys. We could have a lot more kids. And also, it's not only in Belize City. They will also do the out district ones as well. So we have to take that into consideration. It's not only for the kids in Belize. It's going to go out district. So that's another couple thousand toys that we need there. And we also like to thank the sponsors that have the barrels in the location. A&R does it every year for us. Mirab, Brody's. So we really like to appreciate their time that they use to help us in getting this done every year.
It's right there in the store. So when you see it when you walk in, you just think to
Exactly.
yourself, I pick up an extra toy and I'll leave it in that barrel when I'm done.
And also,
after I've paid for it.
Of course. Also, if you have a toy at home, you could still donate it. If it's in good condition, you give us a call at the office and we will go out to your location, pick it up. So it's an easy process, and it's for a worthy cause, you know. At the end of the day, it's for the kids.
And over the years that you've been doing this program, what do you find the response and the level of support has been from the public and from other businesses?
Honestly, a couple of years ago, I was telling Major back in 10-15 years ago, it was Salvation Army doing it. Now there's a lot of different businesses and NGOs and stuff doing it, but we're hanging in there. We make it work every year. So like I said, we continue to ask for the support. At one point you probably needed help. Now you're at the position that you can assist somebody else and help out somebody. So we look forward to it. We're asking to buy a toy. You could find something very nice, reasonable price, and put it in the barrel. It will go a long way at the end of the day.
And you have no idea the difference it makes. I think it's key to say that. The thing is, a lot of people want to help. And so there are a lot of people who are going to be asking for donations and toys and monetary donation as well. And so I think people will need to be selective about where they'll give or split the proceeds between everyone. All giving heart, and that's great. And for the people who are helping, that's great as well. But I think personally, I've seen the distribution of gifts from the Salvation Army, and I know you go through the schools to get the children that the school is verified are most deserving, right?
Yes.
Tell me a bit about that, about the children who benefit.
Yes, I myself went to deliver the letters and speaking to the principals, and so they were quite happy to receive the invitation again this year. We select 30. We give each school 30 tickets, and they screen them. They know the children pretty well.
They know the children,
So we trust them. and we look forward to that collaboration. One thing this year, it will not just be at the dinner, which is December the 6th. It will not just be just coming and eating. 8 schools have my wife come up with this idea this year. So 8 schools will be coming early that will be participating. They will be designing and putting together a Christmas tree out of recycled goods in 8 sections of the building at Holy Redeemer Hall. So this year is a kind of like an education participation along with the thing, because we're looking at really preserving the environment and really keeping it. So this year we're doing like a entertainment and a teaching at the same time. But the schools are now busy working. We're looking forward to see what they
come up with. Yeah. Okay. And so we're looking at the Christmas, the children's Christmas dinner on the 6th of December. So that means that you're going to be collecting toys from now.
Yep. The barrels are set to go by the ending of this week, so they're going to be at all the different locations. And like I said before, if you have it at home and you don't have time to come out, give us a call at 222-4990 at the Bravo Motors office, and I'll arrange to have them picked up at your home, your workplace, just to make it easy for the kids.
Yes. How else can people assist you in the work that you do?
Well, we have actually volunteers that come throughout the year. There are some children that need to do community service. They come to the Raymond Parks Next Shelter. They can go to the Gans as well. But they mainly
What's the difference between the two?
Well, Raymond Parks is for men and the Gans is for women. They can also come to the office. We have some work sometimes that they can help with. I mean, like administrative stuff. Yeah. So it's a good opportunity for them to practice office processing, Word, Excel, this kind of thing, PowerPoint. And throughout the year, we have volunteers that help us with packing of food hampers and these things, sorting of clothes at the thrift store. And basically, sometimes we have people in the restaurants that just need a person to come alongside them and talk and give comfort. So any person with some free time that, a good repute, we use them also.
Yeah, missing out one more. In our meeting that we had earlier this week, his wife was asking for people to donate an hour to ring in the bell for the kettle appeal. So we're still looking for people to volunteer at least an hour and a half an hour to go out there and ring that bell.
I think people think that it is members of the church mostly who do it, but it's volunteering. Like people literally volunteer their time to sit there and ring the bell.
Yeah, so we're gonna have 2 service. We call it service days. Taking the idea of like service club, but really any organization, you can decide to put together a team and you come out there. The 2 days will be November the 23rd and December the 14th. These are, you can call us, make an arrangement, and we'll give you the location, and then we'll be out, we'll see you out there, we'll set you up. So people can decide, okay, between the shift, a person can come from the office and do an hour, another person take over until we fill it. So these 2 service days, November the 23rd, thanks for reminding me, and December the 14th.
I'm trying to book November the 23rd.
Hey, I put in my time before, and I also I go downtown in front of Hophius, but that's one of the popular ones when people walk by. But the thing is, I was going to suggest teams are a good idea because you don't realize ringing this bell actually gets tiring. You get like a little it's a little tiring. So teams are a good idea. But you need people to be out there to ring the bell so that you can keep on drawing attention to the appeal, right?
Yes. We have also spoken to some schools, and we already have some schools lined up to come and in teams to work with the kettle. We show them a little training or exposure to what the kettle is all about, and they catch the vision of it, and they decide to participate, and they give really a good support.
Yeah. And is there training in terms of how to ring the bell?
Yes.
I don't know, you're the music man. Is there a particular tune that makes people feel more giving?
Yeah, but sometimes on the kettle I go and play music.
Let me see.
From time to time.
If you can teach me, then that means you're a great teacher. Let me see.
To be honest, we train them in like all the dressing and the approach, because sometimes you could get discouraged if you keep asking and people say no, or they say other things. So we teach them to be more positive and keep motivated. So we had that actually last night with most of the volunteers.
And you can't sit there quietly either, because the ringing bell kind of becomes part of the background noise of Christmas hustle and bustle.
Yeah, I myself really don't ring the bell too much, but I try to engage people with conversation, and so just remind them, you know, we are here. And once you see that, okay, we'll go.
All right, so it's not appropriate to just say, give me $1 when they walk by.
No, we don't really encourage that at all.
No, we'll say, give me 10.
No, you just give with your heart.
Yes.
I like that. I like that. And the funds that you get from the Kettle Appeal, that goes towards some of your Christmas initiatives.
Yes. So basically, we would say about 88 to 92% of the funds really immediately goes towards Christmas. The other stuff we have other expenses because of Christmas, like printing and the mail and that stuff that we have to deal with. But basically, because the kettle money keeps coming in at that time, we can channel it right away in terms of purchasing the items for the food hampers. And it's over almost 900 food hampers. So it's a big undertaking, really, and we purchase everything. So because we want to ensure consistency. And so really the staples, they cost a lot. So right away it comes in, it goes out.
And I think, you know, it's important to underscore that, because I think a lot of people may think, you know, if they're passing by, they may think, oh, well, $1, or this is not going to make any difference. But, you know, it builds and it does.
Add up.
Exactly, and it does support these, you know, initiatives, which are really important for a lot of people, this, especially around this time of year.
Yeah, because some people think, okay, some people give a $5 or $2 or something, and some people give a shilling.
All the change,
and some people think, oh, this. But when we start to count it together, you know,
you add it up.
Yeah. So we will appreciate everything that the public will give. And I think because we start in November and it goes right up to Christmas Eve, it doesn't matter if people give a shilling every day, because it will
adds
up. You know.
Yeah. All right, so the barrels are going out this week, and the kettle.
The kettle is launching on Thursday morning, right in front of Scotia Bank on Albert Street at 9 a.m.
All right, so people can look out for it, right?
Yes. On November 14th will be registration in different locations for the food hampers, and the food hamper distribution is December the 19th.
So you have to register if you want to get a hamper?
Yeah, because we want to make sure that we interview the clients and make sure that we really get into the ones that most need.
Because you can't give everybody. Yeah, that's understandable. And the caroling, that doesn't happen anymore?
This year we plan to have a return to the caroling. So we will be in some areas.
I mean, we saw you playing the saxophone. I kept thinking to myself, man, I remember the days you used to go around and do that.
Yes, so we're looking forward. A number of members asked me about that, and people in the public. So we're looking forward to, once we work out the timetable with the kettle workers, we can have some free time to pass through the neighborhoods and spread some Christmas cheer.
All right.
So that's the reason why we need volunteers
to play the saxophone. That'd be terrible.
To bring the bell. So Major can be out there playing his saxophone.
You gotta give the bell a try, guys. See, he's more musically inclined. He'll make music.
Trying to get the rhythm.
All right, maybe we'll test you after the break. But we do want to remind you, it's important that people know where these donations are going and why it's important. So we appreciate you coming in and telling us all about it.
Yes.
And if you want to donate toys for, I think it's a couple of thousands that you need.
We need. Yeah, because just at the dinner alone, it will be 700.
Yeah.
But then we go out to Cayo, we go to Masco.
So quite a bit of toys that are necessary. You can contact Bravo or Salvation Army to get those toys, or find the barrel at A&R, Marab and Brody's.
That's right.
And of course, look out for the kettles and give what you can, and you're able to help some people have a better Christmas this year.
Yes.
Thank you for coming in and
you.
telling
Thank you
us
for
all
having
about
us.
it, and best of luck.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned. And we're back.
That was another great show today.
Yes, lovely Tuesday, and we want to say thank you to everybody who passed through. Very educational conversation there with Lydia Turton, senior lecturer and seasoned pharmacist as well, telling us about generic and brand name medication.
Yeah, you know, one of the most important things to take away from that discussion is that, you know, just because a medication is generic doesn't mean that it's unsafe or that it's, you know, of a lesser standard. You know, it's most of the time it's very safe, and they're a lot of times, you know, a lot more affordable. So a lot of the concerns that people have are definitely misplaced.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the same time, we also had the important discussion about, you know, monitoring, you know, the source, making sure that you're buying from a licensed, reputable pharmacist.
Yeah.
You know, to ensure that, you know, you're making the best decisions when it comes to your health.
Yeah. You know, I kind of just have a thing in terms of the ethics of it as well. You know, if you buy from someone who gives you medication that legally they shouldn't or ethically they shouldn't, then it also means that they can be buying from someone, because that means that they're not really paying attention to regulations and ethics. And things like counterfeit medication and counterfeit products in general are real concerns, or proper storage. And it's about what you're going to put in your body. And so I do appreciate the conversation about generic medication, because there's a lot of misconceptions, and we just want to ensure that people are taking what will make them feel better. That's what's most important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, make sure that, you know, you do speak to your doctors. Again, your pharmacist, make sure that it's somebody you can trust. Make sure they're licensed. Make sure that you're taking the best possible approach to managing your health. Speaking of our second segment, that was also super interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking about Belizean short film, Time to Eat, the discussion with the director Carlo and the actress Nicole. It was so super interesting, and it definitely has me, you know, excited to see what the movie is all about. Especially with the themes that it discusses, right?
Yeah, I really like that, but that's because of what we do as well. You know, I love when someone is willing to
like push
show us
boundaries.
a new perspective. Yeah, push boundaries and show a new perspective. I think we are a great country, and there's so many, you know, that's why we always have that saying, only in a Belize.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many things that really, it feels only in a Belize, these things can happen. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And we know Carlo to be a very creative guy. We've seen him do some very comedic and entertaining stuff before, even with his music videos. He used to do with Tanya Carter. But I think that it's interesting to see Belizean filmmakers moving into creating more and wanting to showcase more, not just locally, but beyond our borders as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, I like the phrase that you used earlier when we were talking to Carlo, and you were, you know, described the movie as more of, you know, holding up a mirror to society. Because as he pointed out, you know, we don't often see conversations about, you know, some of the more, you know, pervasive, sometimes negative aspects of our society. We don't see it portrayed in that manner.
Yeah.
You know, whenever we think about, you know, putting something out there for international, we always think, let's just show the best. Let's just show our reef and our, you know, nature and all of the good things about Belize. But at the same time, we can't, other stories do deserve to be told. And so I'm really excited about this film, and I hope that you guys will go out and support and watch it, so more things like this can happen in the future.
And I gotta say, the film festival is starting soon, and it's pretty exciting because we've already interviewed two creators behind Belizean produced films. We had Tekwani and Duende, which premiered, I think, 2 weeks ago. And we also now are seeing Time to Eat. So I'm really excited to see how we're creating stuff here, and high quality stuff as well. Really, really creative. So That means that you definitely want to put that on your schedule. We'll have more about that later on this week as well. And then we want to say thank you to the representatives of Bravo and Salvation Army. I think they did a good job of roping you in to ring that bell for an hour. Start with an hour. Yeah.
I think I can start. I mean, you said I'll take some lessons from you and how to do that.
Yeah. No, true. I haven't done it in a few years, but William and I used to go ring the bell downtown. And it was very interesting because I think sometimes we really just walk past it. Like you're used to just dumping your cash and you walk past it. And I think that you don't realize how much the Salvation Army does, not just at Christmas, but all year round until you have conversations like this. And then you realize that the change or the money that you put in that kettle goes to good use.
No, exactly, and that's why we definitely want to put the message out there that this is definitely an initiative that you want to support.
Yeah.
As they said, most of the funds that they gather around this time of year go directly towards their Christmas initiatives, and those are things like the dinner and the feeding programs, and of course the toy drive, which the Bravo is helping with. But it's the time of year where you want to give, and especially to those who are less fortunate or in need.
Yeah.
And to support an organization or a church like the Salvation Army that does these things for so many, literally hundreds of people around this time of year, it definitely is a worthy cause. So definitely do go out there and support if you can. And, as we said earlier, any amount that you can give does make a difference. Even if it's 5 cents, it does build up. If you give 5 cents every day for 2 months, that can definitely purchase a toy.
And Michael said it best, just give with your heart.
Yeah.
Give what you can, give with your heart, and they'll make good use of it. Remember, the receptacles are also out for toys as well. There are A&R, Marab, and Brody's, and those toys actually go for children who are in need as well, those who participate in the Christmas dinner, and also other families as well. So if you want to pick up a toy in one of these stores and leave it in the barrel, that's a great idea. Or you can also contact Bravo if you have used toys in good condition. They don't want to give away broken toys to children. But if you have good toys at home that another child can still benefit from, then contact Bravo and they'll pick it up and they'll add it to their donations. Right? And of course, do remember that it is Tuesday. It's KTV Latino Tuesday. And I think, Gavin, it's about 8:30, right?
It's about...
Yeah. So you said your voice would warm up by 8:30. I think my producer reminded me of that just now.
So what are we trying to...
Kevin, you are a professional singer. I think.
I know. I'll give you. So should I just give you a little "Como la flor"?
We're gonna do karaoke. We'll do KTV Latino Battle live on air. And I'm telling you, I cannot make it any easier. If you sing against me, you automatically win.
No,
right?
I think I gotta hear. I
gotta
hear my competition first.
So remember that we do have KTV Latino semifinals coming up this weekend. I just know the chorus. I don't know all of that.
Sin embargo, te deseo lo mejor. Oh gosh.
Okay, go ahead.
No encontraste felicidad.
I'll come in.
Tal vez alguien más te la dará. Come on.
Como la flor.
Como la flor.
Con tanto amor.
Tanto amor.
Me diste tú. Se marchito. Me marcho hoy, yo sé perder, pero
ay,
como me duele. You can sing it like Selena.
Ay,
como me duele.
I didn't get to do my little.
All right, yeah, then we do our dancing, right?
Yeah.
That part I'll definitely fill out. I gotta say something though.
Yeah.
Just because it came to mind. If anybody watched the movie, they knew one thing. Selena sang in Spanish, but didn't talk
it. She did not speak it, yeah.
So I think that's always a great thing to remember as I tried to pronounce some of the Spanish words just now. Sorry, Mom. But, it's time to have fun. We just wanted to give you one final reminder that KTV Latino takes place tonight, 8:30. It should be down to 4 singers. And next week, we're going to have the 3 finalists on the stage. It's a great opportunity to hear some good music and to have some fun. All right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if Marlene and I singing wasn't enough to get you out there.
Still recounting the notes you hit or how you sounded, aren't you?
No, well, I mean, it's on film now, so it's all right.
Don't worry. I actually made you sound good. So I told you.
No, I think you had a little bit of good things going on there.
I think you're
you're
being Jenny.
You're a good competition, I think.
I think you're being Jenny as a judge today, and I appreciate that. All right, I don't want to see the Carloses for the rest of the day. But that's all the time we have. Get your tickets for KTV Latino. They're at Channel 5 on Coney Drive, 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard, and Smart's office on Albert Street. But it's all the time we have. Remember, if you want to contact us, send us an email, oye@channel5belize.com. Drop me a line at marlene_oye@channel5belize.com. Find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYEBelize. Remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
And start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
y tu corazón
open. I can't remember the word. Have a great day, Belize. We'll see you soon.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.